Terrain Domain, and this is MTD&D's Bastards of Bastion, Episode 7, Beginning of the End. What could be either the penultimate or the ultimate episode of our mini-campaign using the Harbinger Dark Science Fantasy rule set from Absolute Tabletop. This rule set is currently in playtest, and if you want to know more about it, you can check out, what is it, Harbinger RPG, harbingerrpg.com, and you can read some of the lore about the Harbinger setting, and you can also get signed up for the playtest, which is currently in version 0.5. We have been playing this. We were just talking for... Technically, this is our 7th episode, but we started this probably about 2 or 3 months ago. We just don't want it to end. I'm very fortunate to have 4 amazing role players that have joined us. And right now, Chad couldn't make it. He's dealing with a flat tire, so he'll pop in when he gets here. And we'll continue with his character, Orion. In the meantime, I would like to turn it over to our players and have them introduce their characters. And we're going to start with Alexa.
Hello everyone, I'm Alexa and I'm playing Quinn Gilliani, who is a treader, which is basically kind of like a ranger, like a space ranger actually, I just realized it. And I mean, she hasn't exactly been a very good soldier during the past episode, but I'm hoping to maybe make up for that as we end in a blaze of glory, hopefully. So let's see what happens.
Next up is Megan.
Hey everyone, I'm Megan, and tonight I'm playing Cursed Soriano, who is a mancer who kind of specializes in yellow Astra. She's been really fun to play with, and I'm sad that this campaign is ending. But we'll see if she can do something exciting and intense at the end.
And next up we have Dwight.
Hey everybody, I'm Dwight. You can find me at Big Bearded Nerd on the Twitters and BigBeardedNerd.com. I'm also playing Fenris Demidar, who is also a treader, kind of an old soldier with a kind of a dark past, and looking forward to see how this wraps up.
And Chad Smith, who normally is here for Isaiah Orion, who is also a mancer. As I said, Chad will pop in when he gets a chance. So just a real quick brief overview, and then Dwight is going to give us a recap of the last episode in particular. Bastards of Bastion started with our characters as prisoners, serving various lengths of term for crimes that they committed. And through a bizarre series of events, they found themselves crashed into Harbinger and therefore free in episode 1 early release. Many crazy things have happened, and if you want to catch up on the adventures of the Bastards of Bastion, very soon all episodes will be available on YouTube to watch the VODs of those episodes in a neat and tidy playlist. Dwight, why don't you go ahead and give us a recap for a point of inspiration of what happened in Episode 6, Belly of the Beast.
Last time on Bastards of Bastion, our intrepid adventurers traveled into the beacon, where they met the envoy. Here's the envoy had been in place for several centuries. There was artwork and other drawings in the area that showed outlines of what appeared to be our adventurers. The envoy was able to outfit our team with armor and weapons and gave them 3 choices. They could travel deeper into the Harbinger and face the horrors within. They could take a left-hand turn out of the corridor and find route for escape, or they could turn right, where they could potentially backflood the breath tanks, destroying the beacon and restoring Valoran. While traveling, they elected to go right towards the breath tanks, where they found a closet full of gaunts, which they wound up fighting. Curse was able to find her way to the Astra collection chamber, and after their fight was over, Fenris was somehow the only one able to read the input, was able to determine they needed to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow to destroy the beacon and possibly save Valoran. But it's not quite that easy, as they phase shifted out of the timeline and realized that they'll have a difficult choice where they can potentially save Valoran, but may strand themselves and never be able to get home.
And thank you very much for that. You can, of course, take your point of inspiration for literally repeating verbatim what I just said before we went on the air.
I'll take it.
I'm just kidding. But not really. And the last thing you saw as everybody had kind of gathered in this room was the alarm went off, indicating another time shift. And all the bright colors of all the different Astras, the red, the blue, the green, the yellow, plus purples and pinks and oranges, had all faded as the light became a red warning light. And all that was left in the tanks was a couple full tanks of red Astra. And Fenris, you were the only one that noticed as this shift happened, as from the darkness beyond the tanks, several tentacles began to writhe and reach out, and a dozen purple luminous eyes suddenly appeared in the shadows above the tanks. What would you like to do?
Guys, and I pull up my my scatter gun, and I just kind of gesture in that direction. Start to back away a little bit.
What about Kirsten and Quinn? What are you doing as Fenris says this?
I think Curse is more like still reveling in all of this Astra and all the different colors that she's seeing. And so when they kind of all kind of disappear except for the red, she's kind of perplexed. And then upon hearing Fenris, she kind of looks, oh no, and then she just steps back with him. Shit.
Quinn would probably at this point pull out a second sword and kind of fall into a defensive stance and try to make up for the frustrating performance that has been, happening for the past few minutes. And she would kind of just half turn to the others and ask, is there a way to first complete the mission before this thing kills us?
Orion just kind of quietly in the corner, gripping his weapon, and he just, as he always does, just kind of grumbles. It just never seems to go good for us.
I know Fenris is able to kind of see what needed to be done. Is he able to tell how to do it, or what we should be doing?
Go ahead and make a tech check.
10.
Whatever inspiration it was that was kind of letting you understand what needed to be done, you don't quite understand what buttons need to be pushed. You know that you can press some of these buttons, but you're not sure which ones. And the tentacles are beginning to emerge even further, and you can hear a sound that almost sounds like metal on metal. Click, click, click.
How big does this? I mean, can we tell how big this thing is? Probably that's got the tentacles. Is it a thing or multiple things?
It is. From what you can see right now, it appears to be a single entity. As you see the dozen or so purple eyes seem to kind of shift in unison, you hear this kind of, and you see the tentacles kind of sliding out and around. It appears to be very large and singular at the moment. Go ahead, everybody, and give me a perception check.
5.
Whatever mojo you had last session is gone.
Yeah. Getting the bad ones out early.
14.
Also 5.
Cursed, you're just picking up behind you out in that kind of cafeteria area where you fought the... Well, you didn't. You kind of ran here. But the others fought the Gaunts and the Gaunt Bone Blade. You're hearing this same kind of... that sounds like metal on metal. A very sharp clicking sound.
So, there's kind of, monsters coming from ahead of them and monsters coming from behind them. Is that kind of what?
This is what it seems like. Go ahead and react.
So Curse is just going to be looking from there straight back and then immediately just whip her head behind them. I don't think that the tentacles are our only problem.
And you whip around.
I don't know what to do. I'm not a soldier. And she would look to Quinn and Fenris, just what do we do? We're kind of surrounded.
Does Quinn glean anything from the consoles and the displays and everything around her? I don't think Fenris mentioned anything from what he saw, right? I don't think you had the time.
All I said was what we had to do, but I didn't know more detail beyond that. So,
would Quinn figure anything out?
I'm going to say, because I do remember what allowed you to have that kind of burst of inspiration there, Fenris, was that you had rolled, I believe, a nat 20, or you wound up with a 23 on your tech check.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you advantage on your tech check, given the information that Fenris has given you. So go ahead and make a tech check, Quinn. While she's doing that, Cursed, as you're kind of looking around, even just glancing out, you can see in this red kind of almost pulsing. It's not flashing, but it's just like red emergency lighting. You can see two large dark shadows moving. They look like they stand about 10 feet tall. They are writhing tentacles. Each of them has an irregular shaped head that's massive with purple luminous eyes, and they move on multiple blade-like spider legs. And that's as they move, you hear this.
Now, does this room have a door?
Just the one door that you came through, that had the sign on it that said Astra Collection System.
I rolled a 6.
Whatever, you guys remember that Envoy told you that it was believed that the Harbinger, what they called the vessel, traveled through the cosmos for eons, and was an amalgamation of different machines and vessels that it had collected throughout its journeys. Whatever this vessel is, while appearing to be, have slightly humanoid stuff in it, it was alien enough that you're not able to discern these controls. the language that you're seeing over the various control panels and on the readouts is very weird symbols that there's no context to even give you a hint at what does what.
Maybe we should barricade the way in.
And trap us with that thing?
It's better than being the meat in a kid death burger or something.
Chris would just kind of nod. Is there any kind of object around these things that she could kind of hit them with before she closes the door?
They're not directly in the doorway. They're kind of out in the room proper.
Mm-hmm. Like, is there anything in there that doesn't look to be attached that weighs about
yeah,
30
there was
pounds?
overturned tables and chairs and...
Okay. She is going to throw a table at them, using just to give them maybe like a few more seconds.
Is that using like a grav shift or...
Yeah, grav shift.
Okay.
And she's... Can you or do like a higher level... Can you do boosts like more than one and take them more Astra? I'm not sure. Or can you only boost once?
I think don't you take one Astra Fade for each boost that you do?
So then,
yeah, I think you can do more. I'm gonna say yeah, you can do more than one.
Okay.
I'm gonna allow it. You're gonna take the Fade.
Yeah. Which puts her up to an obscenely high number.
Oh boy, this could be very bad. Shutting this door at this
but
moment.
she's gonna do that, and she's going to make a ranged attack.
All right, so you're making a ranged attack on a table
With this, yeah. So that is an 18 to hit.
Definitely.
And then that is going to do so 1d6 for each, so 3d6. So it's going to do 11 points of damage, and also just be in the way.
So yeah, you'd kind of reach out with your and I believe you're yellow Astra, right?
Yeah.
And you grab this table with this kind of glowing with this yellow Astra, and it just slams across into these two creatures, causing them to collide with one another. And if they were moving towards you, they're not for the moment, and it gives you time to react. But before you can react, what Astra Fade table are you rolling on?
Fade tier 2.
So where's the Fade tiers again?
52 Cage.
All right, I got it. You're on Fade tier 2?
Yeah.
That's a D8.
Yeah, I rolled a 2.
Enhances your sciences. I don't know what that was. Enhances your sciences. Gain advantage on your next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. The Astra is in your favor.
Ooh, I feel like I am playing with fire here.
Definitely. Yeah, so you kind of, as you do this, there's just a surge, kind of like a back surge of Astra, and you just feel that sudden, you almost have, as you move, just, it seems like it's not going to last long, but it's a momentary, almost like a high, where everything kind of has tracers, like it's moving in slow motion, and you can just focus a little bit better. So yeah, you'll have that advantage on your next die roll, basically. And it's at that moment that you hear the sound of this, but it's on glass, as all of you see this creature begin to unfold itself. It's a nightmare aberration of the marriage between some eldritch horror and a squid combined with a lobster combined with just nightmare. Very insectoid, very in a weird way. It has this huge head with all of these purple luminous eyes, and you can now see in the back glow of red Astra that many of the tentacles seem to come from the mouth and just kind of splay all over. The head, though, weirdly almost has the same general shape of Harbinger itself. And this thing begins to unfold itself from above the Astra collection tanks. And it begins to drop down in front of the four of you. The room is big enough that you can move away from the console and still have some distance between you, as it just slowly kind of, first one leg drops down, and then another, and then another, and it moves down. It leaves for a moment one leg kind of up, high up on the Astra thing, and then it just as it drags it, leaving a thick gouge in the metal. You can hear this kind of, I can't even make the sound. I need something like spaghetti here. You can hear this like squishy kind of writhing sound as the tentacles are just kind of moving around in the space in front of you. And as it seems to be kind of low, the joints of its legs with the blades kind of rise up high. And then it just kind of goes, and it rises up until its massive head is pushing up near the ceiling, and it's just looking down at the four of you. Isaiah Orion just kind of looks up as it's rising and just says, "Oh shit, we're in it now."
Would you say that while Cursed was, tabling the topic of our other assailants, would Quinn have had time to use a mender charge before this thing attacked us properly?
Yeah, I mean, this thing seems to be moving pretty slowly and deliberately, and in that space of a few seconds as Cursed was kind of manipulating the table and stuff, I'll say, yeah, you could whip out a mender and shoot yourself up.
Okay, that would be my last mender charge. So once she, jams it into her arm, she will just then toss it aside.
You're muted, Dwight.
This thing's coming down the wall at us, and how much is in the room behind us? Can we tell?
What do you mean? How much space?
No, like the things that are in the room behind us.
Well, Kirsch kind of closed the door, shutting him off. But there were I don't know if she's told you, Kirsch, you saw two in the room.
I would say that if Fenris asked.
How, is this really the best place for us to be? And how far is this thing from me?
It is well, it depends. How far did you back away from it? As it
Just
kind of, it basically forced itself down in front of you. So you kind of would have had to have moved back at least a little bit. So you're as close as you want to be, or as far you can be up to 20 feet away from it, or right up on it.
I mean, I would have been slowly backing away from it, so I would guess that I'm probably 5 to 10 feet from it. So, I'm just gonna kind of look at the other three and just is this it? Is this where we're? All right, and then I'm gonna shoot at the whatever the closest part is to me.
You can pretty much aim center mass. I mean, this thing is large.
Yep. All right. I have advantage on it on my first attack, so that is a 24.
What are you shooting it with?
Scatter gun. Sawed-off scatter gun.
How are you aiming at it? Are you the bulk of its body, because it raised itself up, so the bulk of its body is probably at roughly the 5 6-foot area, and then the rest of it rises up to 10, 12 feet, where the biggest part of it is its head. So what would you have shot at?
I'm center mass. This is just kind of I'm shooting at it as I'm backing away.
All right. Roll me a D100, and I'm gonna roll a D100. Okay.
But 71.
Your shot appears to pass right through the creature. You don't see any flinching, any reaction from it. You don't see any of its armor move away. But what you do hear is the sound of shattering glass as you have hit one of the Astra collection tanks behind it. There is a surge of red Astra that flows into the room. All of you, your Astra fade, unless you are unaffected by red Astra, your Astra fade increases by 2.
Oh, God.
That's going to suck for the
Son of a
treaders that have a
bitch.
really low Astra fade.
So I just immediately just sheathed my shotgun, my scatter gun.
Does that put you at your limit?
Oh
Does
no,
it
I'm
put-
over it. I'm on the first table.
All right.
So
What
I'm
about
gonna
you,
do
Quinn?
6.
Oh, hold on a second. Looks like Chad just showed up. So I'm going to drop my echoey phone off of here. I'm going to leave meeting. And I'm going to turn off the background. And look at that. Chad's right where he needs to be.
Hey.
All right. So we're going to take a quick moment to fill Chad in on what he missed, so he can react as well. So real quick, Chad, Orion, to recap, you wound up in the Astra collection room, and Fenris had figured out that you basically, he knew what needed to be done to overload the Astra banks to destroy the beacon. But depending on where you are in the timeline, it's either going to save Verloren and strand you, or it's going to cause problems for Verloren. At the same time, you time shifted back to the future time, and a giant tentacled creature appeared behind the Astra tanks. Since then, as we return, 2 more of these giant tentacled creatures appeared in the cafeteria area where you had fought them. Kirst used a grav shift to throw a table at them and then shut the door, locking you all in the room with this creature, which just descended from above. Fenris took a shot at it. The shot appeared to pass right through it, but he blew a hole in the one of the Astra collection tanks. All 4 of you increase your Astra fade by 2, unless you're not affected by red Astra. As the room floods with red Astra. I think you might be red Astra, right? So it doesn't work too bad for you. So Fenris just took a shot at it. So I just started to ask you, Quinn, how's your Astra fade?
I'm just on the limit. I'm 2 for 2.
All right, so you are at your limit. So Fenris, I need you to roll on the first table, which I believe is a D6.
Yeah, I rolled a 6. I take 1d8 force damage.
So I want to see. I really wish this was a bookmarked PDF. All right, so you did tier 1. You rolled 6. The rigors of Astra take their toll. Take 1d8 force damage. So what does that look like as this Astra floods in and affects you in this way?
So you just see it wash over Fenris, and it just kind of, I picture it like it just kind of, as it sinks into him, it highlights like blood vessels and stuff, and they just kind of glow red. As he just gets this pained look on his face and just kind of, but then just quickly tries to shake it off.
Kirst, did that push you over your limit even further? All right, so go ahead and roll your. What are you
I'm
on?
at the next tier.
Tier 3 now.
Yeah.
I took 4 damage, by the way.
Okay.
Jake,
So let's resolve that.
I got a 6.
Astra deadens your reflexes. The next attack against you gains advantage. You still have your advantage on your next attack, but whatever attack comes to you will be advantage. Orion, what happens to you as this red Astra floods the room, and you've just kind of been hanging back with weapons drawn, realizing basically you're out of the frying pan and into the fire. And suddenly the room floods with red Astra.
You would get a sense of invigoration as Red Astra is his favorite, and it would probably empower him in a sense. And he's already over his fate from before if he didn't have any kind of reduction. But I guess it wouldn't raise anymore. He likes it. You know, that's about where he would be at with that.
I picture it almost like as the Astra floods over Orion, everybody else, Fenris is getting slammed by it. Quinn is kind of being pushed to the limit a little bit. Cursed is affected by it. And here's Orion just breathing deeply as the Astra floods over him. What would Orion do? What's your reaction to this creature? And actually at this point, now that you've all had full view of this thing, I want everybody to make a I'm going to call it a history check. And I'll let you decide if you have advantage or not based on previous experience with Harbinger. Actually, Cursed, you get advantage on it, I think. Does that, because that, well, I mean, it's just a regular check. I think that fits under the Astra Fade that you rolled before. Attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. So, yep, you get automatic advantage on this.
I got a 20.
Okay. Orion?
Could I choose to fail? I don't think it's something he would know.
Absolutely. Fenris?
9.
Quinn?
Natural 20 for a total of 23.
Quinn and Cursed, you know what this is. This is a thing that had never before been seen until the Harbinger first showed up. This is the only glimpse that anyone has ever had of the true eldritch horrors that lie deep within Harbinger. This thing that has come to be known as a chrysalis is an abomination, a monstrosity that feeds on Astra, that manipulates Astra, that kills and destroys, and that is Nightmare. So, do with that knowledge what you will.
Cursed, at that point, her face would just kind of go into this shock, eyes wide. I don't know, she has very limited experience with the actual Harbinger, but lots of people talk, especially, you know, those who are on the other side of the law. They always talk and stuff. So she's heard tons of stories about this. And she just kind of shakes her head and she looks around and she says, "We have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. Or we have to..." And she would just start pressing buttons because she is just so scared on these consoles.
As Cursed does this, Quinn, you also knowing what this thing is. Actually, Cursed, the chrysalis is between you and the console. So you'd have to move past it or around it to get to the console to start pushing buttons.
She would try to move around it.
Okay. Quinn, you knowing what this thing is, however it is that you know, and seeing Cursed reaction, what are you doing?
Well, you mentioned earlier that its head kind of looks like Harbinger itself.
Mm-hmm.
So she would feel like this is basically what all of her borrowed time has been leading up to, and this is everything's come to a head, and she feels like she's basically facing Harbinger itself, very, I mean, metaphorically, not just kind of literally apparently, and seeing Cursed try to move around it, she would just kind of move opposite Cursed to have the creature between us, and she would attack to try and distract it and kind of just throw herself at it to give Cursed a chance to act, because I guess smashing something would have also been her reaction as well.
So you're going to attack the chrysalid.
Yes.
How are you going to attack the chrysalid?
She just whips out her short blades and kind of just looks back to the others and says, we are here to do a job, and I guess we either go big or go home, or one way or another. And then she would just kind of yell and run at it and attack with both weapons. And as she runs towards it, she will also energize the main hand weapon, which would also push my Astrofade limit to 3.
So go ahead and roll first, because as soon as you push, you take the effect. So go ahead and roll your D6.
That was what the. So I'm looking at the first.
Yep,
table,
that's going to be tier 1.
D6. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. That's a 4.
Astra roots you to the floor with intense gravity. Your speed is halved until the start of your next turn. You go ahead and describe how this affects you as you try to move toward this chrysalid to attack with your blades.
So as she runs towards it, and Astra starts enveloping the short blade, it feels like it starts drawing in tendrils of the Astra from the broken tanks, and it kind of just envelops Quinn's figure, and she's kind of starting to run like in slow motion, as if caught in molasses or something, like a cloud of, like the cloud of Astra is kind of slowing her down. So I don't know if she makes it to.
It's close enough that you'd be able to make it to it. And you're
30.
able to bring your blades to bear on this thing.
Yay. So let's see if I hit first. So that's going to be... so for my first attack, so I'm going to hit with 2 blades, which means I have an extra attack. So that's going to be 2 attacks with my main hand, and third attack with my secondary as a bonus, right? Does that sound right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's, let's see, 21 for the first strike.
Yep.
Should I roll all attacks first?
Go ahead and roll your attacks first.
Okay. Ooh, no. 7 for the second main attack. I'm going to assume. And another 7 for the third attack. So I guess that's just 1 attack.
The reason your second 2 attacks don't hit is probably because you realize as you swing your blade, feeling like you're moving through molasses, your blade cuts into the chrysalid's body. And as it passes through, it seems to almost smear it, like smearing through molasses. And as your blade passes right through this, seeming to only slow briefly, the smear kind of forms back. At this same moment, Cursed reaches the control panel and begins slamming at buttons, pushing at things. And Cursed, as you do this, you press a button, and as you pull your hand away, like a sticky goo, like melted plastic, the button begins to pull with your fingers, and you're already reaching for another one, and same thing. It's like this is made of some kind of gelatinous mass that is sticking to your hands. Isaiah, what are you doing in all of this confusion?
Could I get kind of a proximity reminder?
So you had kind of backed up when this thing first came down, so you're about 20 feet away from it. It is standing in front of the console. That the room, you've got a door to your left, bulkhead all around, the console on the wall to the north in front of you, and room on either side of it to move towards the consoles. And that cursed has moved over to one side of it. Left or right, Cursed? Which way did you go?
Right.
So Cursed is on the right side of it, kind of, and you can already see that as she sticks her, trying to hit these controls, it looks like it's sticking to her hands like melted plastic.
He would kind of laugh at the situation and all the madness that's happened throughout this time when we crashed and everything, and it's just another slew of this nightmare coming at him. And with this invigoration of Red Astra flowing into him, he's Astra incarnate, and he's going to deliver what he can, what he's best at. No weapons drawn, he is the weapon. And he is going to plasma beam this beam. And it would need to take a dexterity saving throw. I'm going to boost it once for free because I'm at or above my Astra Pay. And then I'm going... Let's do that for now. And it would be a 13 DC.
Dexterity save DC 13. Eight. It fails.
All right. So 4d8 after boosting once. If it matters. 26 fire damage.
As your plasma burst strikes this creature, it hits the chrysalis center mass, and it seems to almost absorb it. All of the purple that's illuminating its eyes turns red, and it seems to just kind of... The whole thing becomes almost blurry as it's vibrating. As it's escalating, and you can hear this whine. Fenris, what do you do?
Fenris is kind of lost right now. I mean, he's just not, everything that we've thrown at this doesn't seem to be doing anything. He's looking around to see if he can see anything else in the environment that might speak to what's happening. Does it, is it? Can you see the Astra that's in the room that was in the? Did he destroy the only tank that was still there, or are there still other tanks?
No, and as you're looking around, what you see is you almost kind of peer and look around, and you can see that burst Astra tank, and you see Astra now that it's kind of Astra seems to be flooding from the room into this chrysalis, and it goes, and you start to see cracks form in its form, and it goes and stops, and you can see as it just begins to explode. Freeze. Everything freezes. You hear nothing. You're all frozen in place. Cursed, reaching with sticky control panel stuck to her hands. Isaiah just having blasted it with this. The last tendrils of red Astra swirling around his hands. Fenris looking around. Quinn up close, her blade still kind of off to the side, having followed through on this attack, looking up at this thing, and it's everybody's frozen in dead silence, and then it implodes and everything goes black. None of you can hear anything. None of you can see anything. You don't know if it's a moment, if it's an hour, a week, a month, or eternity. You've lost all sense of the passage of time. And then you see, all of you, a single purple oval of light about 15 feet in front of you. You feel like you have sleep paralysis. You can see, you can't hear anything yet, but if you try to move your hands, your legs, or any part of your body, it's not responding. You see this single purple light, and then another, and then another, and another, and another, and they're all kind of clustered. But the size, each of these purple lights is the size of the one chrysalis that was in front of you. And as it begins to illuminate these purple eyes, you get the sense of a chrysalis head that is 60 feet across. But it's at ground level in front of you. Astra seems to shift and swirl like a light fog around this thing now. And it's shifting through the hues, the full spectrum, not just the red and blue and yellow and green, but the purple, the pink, the orange. It seems to wink out at times as it's shifting through the full spectrum of light. And then, again, with no discernible way to know how much time has passed, a single figure emerges from the fog. Cursed, you see a silhouette that you would recognize anywhere. You see that swagger, that confident walk of your husband, your dead husband. He's not covered in blood like the last time you saw him before you entered the beacon. He looks like he did before you ever did that last job. He looked like he always did when he was cleaned up. Dressed to the nines, hair slicked back, smoking a cigarette. He does that. He kind of takes it in two fingers between his thumb, flicks it past where you believe you to be, and all you feel is a subtle warmth, and you can smell the smoke from the tobacco as it flicks past you. Another figure emerges. This figure is someone from your past, Quinn. There were several people that were affected by the decisions you made and by the things that happened. Who is the most important figure from your past that would emerge from this astrofog?
That would probably be the commander of my unit, my commanding officer, basically. Because Quinn was still green when she got on this assignment, so she was still kind of, kind of clinging to the knowledge, the authority, the respect that she had for this person.
And is this person, this commander, is it a man or a woman?
Let's say a woman. I hadn't thought of it.
Okay. And yeah, you see her, this commanding officer. She has this. She walks with that crispness of a military officer. She steps forward in her military uniform. And she gives you that kind of... She has this severe look about her. Very angular face. Her hair is cut military short. She's wearing a officer's cap. She's wearing an officer's dress uniform. She steps forward and she just crosses her arms and kind of looks you up and down, slowly shaking her head. Another figure emerges from the fog. Orion, who would be the figure that was most important in your life that emerges from this astrofog?
I would say probably the previous ruler of Sept, Isaiah, his adopted father.
He comes out. Also, has a bit of a formidable bearing to him. He's a burly man. He steps out. And he's got a slight limp. That's what you notice first as he's walking out. An old injury. And he does this thing where he looks at you, tilting his head back, looking down his nose in that way that you just knew he was judging you. Kind of running his tongue along the inside of his lower lip. And finally, two more figures emerge from the fog. Smaller than all the others. The two children that Fenris came upon, that were killed, that Fenris was blamed for murdering. These two children, who are they, Fenris? Are they a boy, a girl, two girls? Mostly because I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a boy and a girl. They're relatively close in age, but not the exact same age. Maybe 8 and 10. So,
who's the older one, the boy or the girl?
The boy.
He, as they emerge, he has his arm protectively around his little sister. And she kind of clings to a stuffed animal and clings to the front of her brother's shirt as these four figures emerge from the Astra. And look at all of you. Though you still have no real sense of your bodies. And it's your husband, Cursed, that speaks first. Well, baby, you really got yourself in the shit this time. This is what happens when I leave you alone, huh? Do you try to respond?
If she could, if she was aware of her body, she would just tears would be strolling down her face, and she would just, all her response would be just this kind of laugh. And she would say, "And I thought you were the troublemaker."
I could only make so much trouble in the known orbits. Between the two of us, we could have done so much, baby. But it looks like I left the orbits in your capable hands. And he kind of looks around and looks over his shoulder. That is, if you can get yourself out of this mess. And he looks over at the two little children. And the two children, the boy and the girl, are looking at you, Fenris. And it's the little girl who speaks up. Mr. Demidar. Why are you here? You're muted.
Yep. Fenris, just as she looks up at him, he just kind of collapses onto his knee, or if he can, he just kind of collapses in on himself and just starts like whimpering. She's bawling.
She breaks away, and she breaks away from her brother, who lets him break away. And she walks up to where you feel your form collapsed on the ground. And she does this thing that, it's that thing when kids are emulating behavior they've seen adults do. And she puts two hands on her knees and just kind of bends over like she's looking at you. And she says, Mr. Demidar, it will be all right if you do the right thing. We don't blame you for what happened. And now we're here to help you. All of you.
And Fenris is just sobbing, but he just looks up at her and just, I don't know what to do. And I'm trying. I don't know what to do.
The boy speaks up and he says, they're going to give you some choices. And you're going to have to make the right one. All of our choices have already been made for us. But nothing has been decided for you yet. And Cursed and Fenris, Red Astra is your favorite Astra, right?
Yep.
Cursed, as you're feeling the tears running down your face, you can actually see a mist of yellow Astra in front of your vision. Fenris, you see a mist of red Astra as you're just there feeling your physical form on your knees. Quinn, your commander, still looking at you and just kind of shaking her head. Galliani, I don't know what you did to get yourself into this. I knew you were green when you started. And well, this ain't gonna be easy to hear. You were a scapegoat in what happened. You had nothing to do with that. So whatever's been weighing on your shoulders since the crash, you can let that burden go so you can focus on the decision you need to make. You've all gotten yourselves into a fine situation, up to and including all of the events you've been through. But you got a chance to do right by yourself and your squad. Because like it or not, these individuals with you, they're your unit now. You're just as responsible for them as they are for you. And so you're going to have to make a command decision and hope that it's the right one. You got anything to say, Galliani?
When the figure first appeared and had started shaking her head, that had only translated as, disappointment and just disappointment to Quinn. So she would have kind of dropped down to her knees, hands to the sides, head hanging in shame. But then she would look up at the truth bomb, uh, as Megan said, and just kind of not knowing what to make of it exactly and how to rearrange her thoughts around it. And she would just say, to answer the question, she would just say, I'm sorry I couldn't do more. I'm sorry I wasn't better or more prepared. But I will do the right thing.
Well, you're going to need to get your ass off the floor and stand there like a true soldier then.
Quinn salutes. Quinn gets up she stands and then she salutes.
On the end, on the far side, the burly man with the limp, kind of looking down at Ryan. I'd call you a son of a bitch, but I ain't never talking about your mother that way, boy. Look, I don't know who any of these folks are, but I know you've made some tough decisions in your life. Decisions that have put you in this predicament. You know what I always said, boy. You gotta own up to whatever choices you make. Whatever it was that took you away and they locked you up, well, we thought it was for good. Now, for whatever reason, it seems you got yourself caught up in a metaphysical, cosmic endeavor. What are you gonna do about it, boy? Y'all got some decisions to make. You finally growing up? Gonna act like a man? What are you gonna do, Isaiah?
Whatever it takes. And I've shown you that. This is all you're doing. I'll fix your mistakes. These are your mistakes. I'm paying. But I'll fix them.
Always projecting your problem onto others. Well, guess what? You're in this predicament. You're just as much cause as you are effect. The four of you got some tough decisions ahead of you, and you better hope you make the right decision. Just let that lay on your conscience, boy. Whatever decision you make, it's going to affect not only you, not only these four here, but perhaps hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of lives in the known orbits. You ready for that kind of responsibility, Isaiah?
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, Father.
And then all of these figures seem to kind of look back over their shoulder. And the multitude of purple eyes from which this shifting focus of Astra was coming rises. It rises high into the air above you, higher than the ceiling of the room you had previously been in. For all intents and purposes, you appear to be in a black void. And as this creature rises, it towers what appears to be 100 feet above you. And you can see and now hear and feel as each of its blade-like legs impact on whatever surface is in this area. And then Quinn, your commander, Fenris, the two children, the boy and the girl, Kirst, your husband, Isaiah, your father. They all speak in unison. You must make a decision now. You must decide if you wish to return to the world from whence you came. Or do you wish to save the ancient world of Verloren? What those creatures that crawl through the depths of the Ark call the homeworld? Or will you save yourselves? Or will you stay here on the Ark and journey into its depths to discover yourselves and whatever lies in wait? What will you do? Please, Mr. Temidar, make the right decision. You know what's got to be done, Gwen. Boy, I don't need to explain nothing to you. Baby, I know you're going to make the right decision. And the four figures dissipate into a cloud of Astra. But the figure stands looming over you. And you now hear this incredibly booming, almost in your head. What is your decision? What will you do? What are you going to do? You do begin to feel awareness of your body. You're still in this black void, but all of you kind of feel that almost pins and needles, as if your whole body was physically asleep. Like when your leg or your arm falls asleep, you feel that pins and needles sensation over your entire body as you gain awareness and access to your own movements. What are you going to do?
So Fenris kind of he stands back up and takes a step forward, and he reaches over and he grabs his hammer and he just kind of throws it onto his shoulder. And he never backed down from a fight. I came here for something. I ain't leaving till it's done.
With the fight over, the aura of Astra that was around me dissipates, and take a deep breath. Well, getting this far together. Better look out for myself. Can't deny what I just experienced.
You got really quiet there, Chad.
He said he can't deny what he just experienced.
Kirst, Gwen?
Quinn would drop her salute, would turn around to the others and would say, well, I'm not happy to be doing this, but I guess one last foolish thing, huh? And she just gets ready for a fight to finish what we started. Together, you know, dying as a crew again, but maybe stopping further death and destruction.
What about you, Cursed?
Cursed has been thinking, but as she kind of gets back into more corporeal form, she just begins to shake her head. No. No, I can't. I can't die without enjoying freedom for at least a little bit. I can't. I'm sorry. I've always been a runner, and I guess I'm not strong enough.
The decision has been definitively made. You have chosen your fate and the fate of the worlds around you. And the figure begins to dissipate. And as this massive form of a towering 100-foot tall chrysalid begins to dissipate, it shifts into red Astra. And you see it. Imagine a red smoke pot or red smoke grenade as it bursts and is spewing red smoke, but in reverse. That's what this thing is doing. And as it does so, all around you, you suddenly hear the sounds returning to your ears. You feel the familiar feel of the ground below you as you're suddenly returned to the Astra collection chamber. All of the controls in this room are dead. The Astra banks are empty. The displays are blank. The chrysalid that was in the room with you is no longer here. The door to the room that was closed, now where previously was just an empty door, in perfectly readable common to all of you, is a lighted LED sign that says escape ship. What are you going to do?
Is this back to where Fenris was able to originally read what needed to be done?
You were able to read all the displays and everything. All of you actually have an awareness in your mind. And I don't know. I hate getting anachronistic, but this is the best way to describe this scene. At the moment that Cursed said that she can't do it, she needs to taste freedom, she's a runner. It's just like when the Ghostbusters first heard the sounds and said, "What did you do, Ray?" A decision has been made, and you all know that the only choice you have is to find the escape ship and get off of Harbinger. You know you are in the current timeline in which you first entered Harbinger. The choice was made by Cursed when she spoke it aloud. You need any hope of saving Verloren by overloading the Astra tanks, any hope of it receding deeper into the ship. In your minds, those avenues are all closed. You just need to get to the escape ship. Going back for what would be to leave that cafeteria, go across the hall and into that other chamber. The closed door stands behind you, beside you, or before you, rather. And that's the only way out. What are you going to do?
So does it feel like the decision is something they're comfortable with or content with? Like they've decided
You
in
tell
their
me.
own
Nope.
minds that.
That Cursed made the decision.
Okay. So
That's up
it's
to
not.
the rest of you how you feel about that decision. You all know that the choice to flee to the escape ship is the choice that has been open to you, the choice that was decided, and you know that Cursed is the one that made the decision. It's up to you how you react to that.
Okay.
What did you do, Ray?
I stare a hole through Cursed as I walk to the door and slam it open as best while staring directly through her as I walk out of the room.
Curse just says nothing. And she kind of doesn't make eye contact. She kind of looks to the ground, but then she kind of mutters, she's like, I did save all your asses. And she's just gonna walk towards the escape.
Any words from Quinn or Isaiah?
Quinn, just you can see that she's struggling with it with her whole body. She's very, she's transparent basically at this point. Just struggling with it, and she starts muttering, "This is my crew. This is my crew. This is my crew." And then she walks out of the room following Fenris, trying to, fall into a maneuver that would make sure that the entire group exits safely, and then that we start walking towards the shuttle. So basically just taking point, making sure that there is no danger ahead.
And Orion? Are you there, Chad, or are you frozen?
He's
Oh. You look like you were frozen.
I think I was for a second there. He would definitely be dragging his feet. Definitely in their turmoil on what's going on here. Yeah, he would just reluctantly, slowly, I guess at least start to leave the room, no matter what it looks like. That's the only real way out, so let's start to head in that direction. And, he's still kind of like making sure he's real again. And then he just shakes his head and follows them. Seeing what the next step is.
And as you head through the door, I need everybody to roll for initiative. Because it's the cafeteria, and there's 2 Chryslic in there.
Got a 22.
All right, Cursed has a 22. Fenris?
12.
Quinn?
11.
Orion?
8.
I'm assuming there were no kind of rest benefits during our...
Actually, and I forgot to mention this, you all feel from your time in whatever this limbo state was, you feel enhanced. You feel more powerful. Mechanically, you are all now level 5. You have your hit point increase and your max hit point increase that comes with the level 5, and any new abilities or ability score increases that come with level 5. You all also have your Astrofade reduced by 2. As you head into this room, and I need to roll initiative for the Chryslics. And I'm going to do something a little different. I'm actually going to roll separate initiatives for these 2 Chryslics. So the first one And the second one. So the batting order is going to be Cursed. You are up first, followed by one of the Chrysalics, followed by Fenris, followed by Quinn, Orion, and the second Chrysalic is going to go last. So Cursed, as you walk into the cafeteria, and the two Chrysalics that you previously had struck with the table, it's almost as if that just happened. They seem to just be picking themselves up. They're within about 30 feet of you. We'll say they're 20 feet away. And they're just kind of getting their feet under them as the table is, I mean, literally, the table is just falling to the ground from that move that you did. And it's your go.
Curse is immediately just going to take out her light repeater and fire a shot directly at one of the chrysalids.
All right.
With a 17 to hit.
That actually hits.
Doing 8.
All right. Let's see. All right. Your blaster bolt strikes it. And is that your only action?
As a bonus action, immediately on the hand where her gun isn't, her hand begins to glow this yellow, and this long blade emerges from her wrist. This blade of yellow Astra.
You're not attacking with it. You're just drawing it.
Yeah, just drawing it.
I just picture that just the slow. I love that. That is so cool. One of the chrysalics is going to act. The first one that seems to kind of get its feet under it. And let's see, what kind of movement do they have? So here's what I'm going to do, because chrysalics have multiple attacks. I'm going to decide what it does. Even is that, odd is that. Okay, so there are 4 of you. Actually, nope. Megan, tell me which one you hit, left or right.
She's be right back.
Oh, she disappeared. All right, I'll just assume it was that one.
She said left.
Of course, she's not here. Because Curse is the one that's getting attacked. So, where's everybody going? There's a fight. Everybody.
That's why I couldn't let my battery die, man.
No, I knew. I saw your note about having to do a charger. And so that's how Cursed die, or how Quinn dies.
Sorry, I had to break up the cats. They were just hissing at 5 a.m.
I don't know if... All right. You can blame Megan for one of you. Oh, no, she made it back. You were the one getting attacked and you left.
Oh, sorry.
So... Okay, I see how this works. Okay, so because you shot it, this chrysalic is actually going to cross the distance to you. And it is going to attack you first with its leg blades. As it lurches out with 2 leg blades. Where's my chrysalic die? That's right, I have a die specifically for chrysalics. That is going to be a 14 to hit.
That does not hit.
So there's this like metallic, almost singing shing as a leg blade slides past you, but it leans down with its Harbinger shaped head, and its tentacles begin grasping at you. That's an 18 on a die, so a 24 to hit. You are going to take 6 points of bludgeoning damage as these tentacles slam into you, and you are now grappled. You are held by the tentacles of this first Chrysalic. And it is now Fenris's turn. You're muted.
So as Fenris exits the first room, he kind of reaches up. He's got his hammer in one hand. He just passes his hand over the head of his hammer and infuses it with red Astra, which I will have to roll on that table right away. So that's a 1 on the first Astra table. So whatever that is, I don't think that's anything. Yeah. Tier 1, I'm able to maintain control and nothing happens.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. You
all
maintain
right.
control of it.
So after that, he kind of just smacks the switch on the side of the hammer, which activates his shield. And so he's got this red Astra glow around him, and he's going to two-handed swing at the chrysalis that's attacking Cursed.
All right.
With advantage, it's going to be a 24.
Definitely going to hit.
Okay. And that does 9 points of bludgeoning damage. And I'm going to take my extra attack
Okay.
at the same one. That is a 20.
That's also a hit.
Not natural, so... that does 14 points of bludgeoning damage.
And these were both attacks with your hammer?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're actually starting to hear its kind of chitinous armor crack as you're striking at it. It still looks like it's got some fight in it, but you've done some pretty good shots to it, but it's not letting go of Cursed.
I just scream at it, not, have no idea if it's going to even register that, but I just, as loud as I can, I just, fight me!
Quinn, you're up.
I'm going to basically do the same thing as Fenris, but from the kind of like the other side.
Okay.
Um,
I've never done this before, but I'm going to give you advantage for flanking. I don't normally use flanking rules, but because you specifically said you're going to the other side, you're basically flanking it. So I'm going to give you advantage on your attack.
Yay. That's going to be... so it's going to be for my action 2 attacks, and then for my bonus action an attack with my offhand.
Okay.
And as she advances, as she raises her blade, as it comes down, it energizes for 1 more on the Astra Fade. So that's going to be, I'm bringing me up to the limit.
Yeah, because you were reduced by 2 when you guys came out of the fugue. Okay.
Yeah. So that's going to be, my goodness gracious, 8 for the first attack.
You swing wide. This thing's
wait,
already...
You said...
Oh, wait,
sorry.
you have advantage. So, yeah, roll again.
So that's 25 for the
Yeah,
first.
you definitely hit with that.
Oh, would you look at another 25 for the second attack?
Excellent.
And 16 for the third.
That's also going to hit. All 3 of your attacks hit.
Fine.
As you come in, just blade swinging.
So that's gonna be 5, and then so 10 on the first attack.
Okay.
Uh, 13 on the second,
Okay.
and 5 for the third attack.
All right.
And if this creature is still standing,
It is, but you've cut some serious gouges into the armor and have actually found the soft spots between the chitinous plates, and
then
it's leaking.
encouraged-
It's leaking Astra and blood.
Good. Then I'm going to take this as encouragement, and I'm going to do an action surge and take another attack action, which means another 2 attacks with my main weapon, as I have double attack.
Yeah.
So is that still with advantage?
You're still flanking, so yeah.
Okay.
Those are with advantage.
So 21 for the first
That hits.
strike, and 9 for the second.
That one's gonna miss.
Okay.
But we'll go ahead and roll your damage.
So that's gonna be 7 plus 5, 12 damage. All of it slashing.
Quinn comes in like a whirling dervish of blades. 2 blades, 5 attacks, just slicing Fenris as you're screaming, "Fight me!" Quinn slides in and just starts slicing. Limbs start falling away. Tentacles drop away. Cursed, you are dropped free of this thing. And with your final blow, Quinn, how do you finish this thing off? The first of the 2 chrysalics.
Just you just slice it from top to bottom and just go through the Harbinger head, kind of like just very satisfyingly.
Quinn, with her last blow, Quinn leaps into the air, bringing both blades down, stabbing into that Harbinger-like head. One of the blades severs all of the tentacles that are holding you cursed, and you drop harmlessly to the ground as Quinn continues to slide down like Errol Flynn from the sail, and just gore and ichor and purple Astra spill out as this thing falls in pieces around you, as you have killed one of the 2 chrysalics in this room. And it is Orion's turn, as there's still another chrysalic that has only been hit by the initial attack of Cursed with the table before your fugue state with the chrysalic entity.
How far away is it from the one that just died?
Because that one moved to engage Curse, it's about 20 feet away.
Okay, I would like to get in between my other party members and it, and I would like to plasma beam it, and I would like to use it. Let's go twice.
All right.
With the 4d8 on a fail and the lingering fire. So
Nope.
it'll be a 30-foot line between me and them.
And that was a DC 13?
14.
14?
It's 14 now?
14 because you're level 5.
With, dexterity.
All right.
Yes, sir.
That is a 16 on the die, so that's a 17 total. It succeeds, so I believe it takes half damage?
Correct. 21, so 10. Fire.
All right, so...
And then the fire's going to stay. So...
Before you do anything else, I need you to roll a D100. I've just rolled a D100. As a reminder, I roll a D100 to determine the center point. This shot has a 10% chance of something happening.
I got 45.
Your shot catches part of the chrysalis, and that seems to dissipate it enough as it strikes the hole through the view where you see the viewport across the room, and you see the hole, the wall of this room near the viewport buckle and scorch a little bit, but it does not blast through the hole. All right, what else were you going to do? Lost you're muted.
Yeah, I was repeating. Sorry. It doesn't matter because that failed.
So there's nothing else you're doing?
Yes, actually, that's gonna make me exceed my astrofade limit by 1.
So you're on
that, and then I'm also going to bonus action. What?
So you're on tier 1.
Could you hear me?
Yep, you're on tier 1
Yeah, I got
for
a 1.
astrofade.
Yes, sir. And I got a 1.
So you just maintain control.
So I ignore it. Yeah. And then I'm going to bonus action to limit enhancer, I think it's called. And I get resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing, and some other fun effects.
Awesome. And given that you were the last one to attack at it, and you've imposed yourself between your party, the chrysalis is going to advance on you. It raises 2 of its blade claws and strikes simultaneously with both of its blade legs. That is a critical nat 20. Chad always jokes that he's willing to let me kill his characters because I've killed a couple of his characters before. So this was not intentional. But that is a nat 20. So the way I do critical hits is automatic max damage. So the blade leg attack, leg blade attack is 2d6 plus 4. So that means you automatically take 16. And I'm going to roll those 2 dice one more time. 16. You take 21 points of slashing damage as these leg blades come down across the front of you. Its Harbinger-like head bows down to you, and it strikes with its tentacles. But when it brought its legs down, they kind of stuck for a moment in the floor plates, and it has to pull them free, and its tentacles just whip. You actually hear the next to your head from these tentacles, but they miss you with a 3 on the die. And that is going to take us back to the top of the order with Cursed, who is now free from the first chrysalis.
Curse is kind of like on 3. She's kind of crouched down, just kind of supporting herself with her hand, and she's going to use that momentum to kind of kick off and attack the other chrysalis with her yellow Astra Blade.
Yeah.
It's a 21 to hit for 9 damage.
All right. Any other actions or attacks?
Nope, that's it.
Yeah, you just easily run up on it in that moment where its feet are kind of stuck in the ground, and you just slash with this yellow Astra Blade across it, and you can see that I screwed up the order. That's okay. I'll just move that one back to the end. No problem. That was actually the one that died. Okay, no problem. So yeah, you slice at this thing, so that means it is 2, 3. Fenris. This thing has just dealt a pretty significant blow to Orion. Cursed has run up on the remaining one, and it's your go. Muted.
So yeah, I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to run up. I'm going to just kind of run and leap at it and swing with my hammer. Thankfully, I'm going to use my inspiration, and that's going to give me a 22.
That'll hit.
That does 18 points of bludgeoning damage. Use my second attack to also, and that is not going to hit. But I'm going to go ahead and use my action surge for a third one. And that is a 23.
23 to hit.
And that is a 15 points of bludgeoning damage.
15. Let's see. Okay. 15, so that's... Okay. Yeah, you guys are just pummeling these chrysalids. And is that the end of your turn?
Yep.
That takes us to Quinn.
Quinn will then move on to the next. She will basically do the same. She will move on to the next chrysalic again, maneuvering if there is enough movement. Maneuvering to get to the other side of the chrysalic compared to Fenris. To always kind of have it in between the two of them. And she will do the same thing. She will attack 3 times.
Excellent.
So that's going to be 23 for the first attack.
That's going to hit.
24 for the second attack.
That'll hit.
And the natural 1 for the third.
All right, well, let's resolve those first 2 hits and see if
Yes.
it's still standing.
Yes. So that's going to be 6 plus... So that's going to be 10 for the first. And 16 for the second. So 26 total.
All right, how do you want to do this?
Just kind of blast it to the side as she swings sideways with her short blade. The entire creature kind of just shifts to the side and just then collapses, kind of like a balloon that's just deflating disgustingly.
Yeah, you are able to... It actually falls apart into like 3 sections as it drops down in the midst of all of you. And it is down, and you are all out of combat in the now quiet cafeteria room. What are you going to do?
Flame blade, or not flame, this yellow Astra blade in hand. Kirst isn't going to waste any time, and she's going to start running towards the exit, or the where the sign says the emergency shuttle is.
I'd like
Yeah.
to increase my Astra Fade to heal myself by 1d6.
You did what?
As a siphon, I can increase my Astra Fade by 1 to heal myself by 1d6.
All right, so are you still rolling on tier 1?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm going to roll the healing real quick. That's a 5. And the chart is a 3.
Which is Your reflex is slow. Reduce your armor class by 1 until the start of your next turn.
So for 6 seconds.
Yeah, for just a few moments, you're in it. Yeah.
Makes sense. I think there's a blue cloud around me of Astra that's healing me, stitching me together, and that would give away a little bit of my silhouette and stuff, and I'm glowing, so let's do all this.
All right. Kirst has already run for the door, running back into that hub that led to you had made the decision to go right, so you know that you just need to go across this hall and through the other airlock to get to the escape vessel. Is everybody following Kirst?
Yep.
Yeah.
As you're running through, you run into the hallway, and the whole ship, the whole hallway and everything that you're in is shaking. Panels are exploding outward. There's electrical wires that are hanging down and dancing all over. Occasional control panels and sections of the bulkhead are exploding outward. You make it into the open area and you begin to dash across, and I need everybody to make a dexterity saving throw.
23.
8.
Natural 1.
Natural 20 for a total of 22.
Wait, I have 1 point of inspiration.
All right, go ahead and spend it if you wish.
Yeah, 21.
All of you are making it through. Things are exploding all around you. Suddenly, a big section of the ceiling explodes, and a heavy girder, movie style, just drops from the ceiling. It comes down, and it slams into Orion. Orion, you take 4 points of bludgeoning damage as you get knocked across the shoulders, and you're dropped to the floor. Behind you, you hear Orion cry out in reflexive pain, reflexively cry out in pain as he's knocked prone to the floor. And because of that natural 1, I'm actually gonna I'm gonna put your fate, Chad, in a die I have that it's a 12-sided die that has body parts listed on it. It's that critical fail. I'm gonna roll it, and we're gonna see where you got hit. Your right arm is pinned under this beam. You were the last through this area as you're running through. What do? As nobody's noticed that you are pinned. Do you call out to them?
No, I think they're too far ahead. And if I don't do something quickly, there's not going to be anything for me to do. So I'm going to take my heavily modified dagger with my other hand and attempt to sever my arm.
Oh, he's going 127 hours.
My favorite arm.
Okay. So you're going to attempt to cut your arm off.
I'm going to press the button on it to Astra augment it first.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I'm not going to make you roll to hit. You know what you're doing. It's your own arm. You start cutting through your arm. It's just below the elbow. So you're going to be able to save the joint, but you've got 2 bones, tendons, muscle to cut through. I first want you to make a strength check.
All right.
You're struggling. I want everybody else to make a perception check. I'm going to make you all make this at disadvantage because you're running through all of this explosions and everything else.
Kirst got a 2. She is one-track mind racing.
Yeah, you're leading the pack. Fenris?
16.
And Quinn?
2 5s in a row for 9.
Okay, neither Quinn nor Kirst know what's going on. But Fenris, something makes you kind of just instinctively look back to make sure everything's getting by. It's almost like you kind of stop as they're beginning to pass through this airlock, and you're ushering through the others, and you look back and you see Orion is trapped underneath this heavy beam, and he's already cutting into his arm with an Astra enhanced dagger. What do you do?
I head right for him and try to get the beam off of him.
All right, you're going to try to lift the beam off of him. Make a strength check.
Yep. 21.
You're putting all of your back into this, and Orion, you're just starting to cut through the muscle. You've cut a deep gash into your arm. What is the damage of your dagger when it's Astra infused?
I think it just gives it +1, so 1d4 + 1.
Roll 1d4 + 1 damage against yourself.
All right. 2, and then that's halved, I guess.
Yeah, so because of your limited enhancer, you just take that 1 hit point as you start to cut in, and all of a sudden Fenris just rushes in, grabs hold of this, and you're lifting it up, Fenris. And Orion, you're able to pull yourself out from underneath this heavy beam. And Fenris, he's clear, and you're able to drop it, and the two of you are able to run after your comrades. Kirst, you're the first one through as you head into this area, and you see a vessel that is... This whole area looks kind of like a launcher for an escape pod, but it looks like it's been hacked and rigged, and... The vessel that you're sitting in here does not look like any escape vessel you've seen, but you've seen this kind of a ship before. It's a Skrug tug.
She just races right for it. It's at this point anything is the best choice. And so she's just gonna run right up to it. She would look back, and I think Quinn is behind her.
Quinn is immediately behind you.
She'd say, "You know how to fly this thing?"
Technically, I do. But I guess we'll find out.
Well, technically, it's got to be good enough, and she would kind of like usher you into the ship.
All right, Quinn, I need you to start making tech checks to start your pre-flight. This is a cobbled together vessel, but the Skrugs seem to they seem to understand a little bit about navigation. You know that the Skrug tug is not shielded, that radiation just leaks from their engines. These are terrible vehicles to fly in, but in your current situation, it's what you got. So go ahead and make a straight tech check to see if you can start your pre-flights as Fenris and Orion are rushing in behind you.
15.
It's a little... Things aren't quite where you expect them to be. At one point, you're reaching... You kind of have to reach over for a control that should be in front of you, and a bolt snaps in your control seat, and you kind of... Whoa! And then you get control, and you're grabbing at levers and flipping switches. Fenris and Orion, you've come into this area now. You can already hear the as this thing is starting to power up, and it's like a spaceship backfiring, just and the ramp is open as you run into this area. Do you rush right on board?
Yeah, I'm checking to make sure there's nothing behind us, making sure that Orion gets on the ship first.
Out in that main hallway, but it doesn't seem to be in here. There's explosions bursting, and the continued effects of everything just kind of shaking. as you guys rush in. Orion, are you also boarding?
Yes, with haste is trying to get out of here.
A little bit of blood is kind of seeping down your arm, but it's still a superficial wound. As you are all rushing in to the ship, and you're able to get it powered up, Quinn, and you all hear this sound that has now become familiar. Harbinger is about to shift. Everything has tracers around it. You can see ahead of you, Quinn. You can see the launch bay, and it looks like it's only about 30 or 40 meters in front of you. You can actually see dots of stars in the distance. You can see just a hint of the glow from Bastion. You know that you're in the current present timeline from which you guys exited, or rather crashed into Harbinger. The alarm is sounding. Are you going to punch it?
Oh, yes. Very much so.
You slam the throttles forward. The bay door is barely closed. And suddenly everybody's launched backwards. Fenris and Orion, you're slammed into the bulkhead. The Skrug tug shoots through. And you're in, suddenly, the openness of space. And there's a moment where, as your ship kind of stutters a little bit, it shifts against your fighting the controls, and you can see this bizarre, what looks like a ship, but with organic components attached to it on the side of the bulk of the Harbinger. And you watch as the bay that you just came from just belches out an explosion. But you made it out. You can see, as you gain control of the ship, you can see the length of Harbinger. And you can see where it pierces the shattered moon of Verloren. You appear to have just made it out before the time shift. But nothing changes with the Harbinger. It doesn't wink out of existence. It stays. I need a tech check from Quinn.
Burp, 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 burp.
Something on your control panel is going off, and it is a sensor that indicates another ship is moving to intercept. You check the sensor array, and you get a kind of shaky camera view from one of the external hull cameras, and you see a Skrug tug moving to engage. I need you to make an astrogation check.
Am I able to assist?
Sure. Make an astrogation check with advantage.
I will take that 17 over 5, thank you.
You begin making
That's-
evasive maneuvers. Quinn, you know that this vessel, as you're looking at these control panels,
Total
has...
of 20.
Okay, you know that this vessel has 2 external gun systems that are operated by individual operators. But you know you're going to have to command 2 of your crew to take control of those. I apologize to anybody watching. For some reason, I've started looking at this monitor, which has my actual zoom, because I'm looking at your faces there. I don't know why. So yes, you have to command 2 of your crew to take control, if you wish.
Well, as I look around, and Orion has already helped me, and I see his wounded arm, and she just gasps like, "What happened to you? Are you okay?"
I'm alive, foolish.
good enough for now, I guess. And then she will turn to Kirst and Fenris and say, we've got a Skrug tug incoming, and I think the ship has some weapons. I sure hope they're still working, but I need you to see if they're working and do your best with them.
Fenris and Kirsch, do you move to the gun control systems? You're able to they're actually pretty obvious. They're kind of off on the port and starboard side of the ship. You can see these kind of captain-like chairs that have almost like a steering yoke with trigger mechanisms on them. Think Millennium Falcon Quad Laser Control Center.
Oh, don't worry, I was.
I figured so. All right. As soon as you guys move into your positions, you can see blips moving up. I mean, we're just going to go all Star Wars. You see, it's kind of staticky, and it keeps winking out. But you see this red field, and in yellow, you can see a grid that's kind of adjusting, and you can see the almost like wireframe images of the Skrug tug as Quinn is fighting to maintain control. And Cursed, it's on your side. You can take a shot at it.
Yeah, she definitely will fire on it.
Go ahead and make an attack roll, and I want you to add a +6.
Uh, 25.
You squeeze the triggers as this thing comes into view, and you squeeze off some shots, and you see that you strike some hits. After a moment, it shifts over to the other side, and Chad, if you want to preserve, if it helps you to cut video, you can do that. And I think I can put. Hold on a second before you. Okay, well that worked. Go ahead. I don't think it's going to screw everybody up, so we'll just leave that there. I'll do this. So, Chad, you can go audio. And Chad's phone is running at very low, but we're kind of in the end game here. Fenris, it shifts over to your side. Make an attack roll. +6.
9.
Your shots go wide. As Quinn is dodging and shifting with the ship, and you're kind of skimming along the surface, and then you kind of move away from the surface of the Harbinger, and then you shift back toward it again. Quinn, make a tech check.
That's a 3, unless that's something Orion can help.
Fenris and Kirst, make perception checks.
5.
1.
Orion, give me a tech or perception check. Are you still there, Chad?
Yes, sir. I got a nat 20. I'll go with you said tech or what?
Tech or perception.
Let's go for perception for once.
As Quinn is kind of looking around and trying to maintain control of the ship and dips kind of toward the Harbinger, a wild shot from the other Skrug tug slams into the hull of the ship, and you see warning lights going off, and you feel as the ship shudders and twists, and it's in that moment, Orion, you see it. There is a Bastion prison system transport vessel moving parallel to the Harbinger. Your ship has moved, has been struck, and is spinning out of control. And you watch as Kirst squeezes off a shot and hits the other Skrug tug. It goes careening and crashes into the side of Harbinger. But Quinn, you're unable to maintain control, and your ship slams into this transport vessel, this prison transport vessel. And as it does so, Orion, you see this vessel close up. You're the only one that recognizes it. This is your transport vessel. You are one of the two Skrug tugs that was engaged in combat in space that crashed into your transport vessel. And you watch as this prison transport vessel flies, disabled, and crashes and embeds itself into the Harbinger. As the ship you are on begins to spiral off away from Harbinger. Quinn, you are fighting the controls. And it's a good 5 to 10 minutes before you can regain control. You're leaking fuel. You're leaking radiation big time. But eventually you gain control of the ship. And you realize, Orion, you're the only one that noticed this. Specifically that vessel. But Quinn, you realize in this moment, and I think Cursed in particular would also realize this, you're free. Whatever bizarre series of circumstances you were in, you're free. What is going through each of your heads? And I'm actually going to give the first shot to Orion, given his revelation.
He's kind of struck and surprised, but then he sees that we've moved away from all of that chaos and has a revelation that the void is ours in known orbits. Wherever we may want to go is ours. And he kind of sits back and for once actually buckles in. Kind of just relaxes for the first time.
Curse. You realize as you do see the ship spin off, the other Skrug spin off into Harbinger. You don't see the other vessel. You hold on for dear life as the Skrug tug you're on is spinning out of control. And eventually Quinn is able to right it. And that feeling of, wait, I think we're out of it. I think we might be out of it. What's going through Quinn's head? Or sorry, Curse head.
Just this kind of sly grin just goes across Curse's face. Is that they're free, they're able to get out, and you know, the farther they get away, the less, in her mind at least, the less chance, you know, the Harbinger can affect them, and they can kind of run for a little bit. So she'd kind of go up to Quinn and she would say, "Any idea where you're going?"
And now it's on you, Quinn.
As Quinn just kind of shakily, she removes shaky hands from the controls, just breathes a deep sigh of, whew. That was intense. She looks up at Curse when she hears the question, and then looks at the others and says, "Well, where do we want to go?"
And as Quinn says this, Fenris, what's your reaction?
Fenris just kind of gets this look on his face. It's kind of a smirk. Says, Well, you say you drop me off by over on Ozen. Gotta kind of feel like there's some local politics that need taken care of.
And as Quinn punches in some coordinates into the kind of janky nav computer and begins to kind of redirect the course, the ship begins moving towards Fenris's requested destination. And I imagine as Cursed is just kind of looking out the windscreen. Out of the corner of your eyes, Cursed, you just see a brief reflection. You see the glow of a cigarette, a puff of smoke, and you see an image of your husband reflected in the glass, and he just winks at you, and it kind of fades away. And that is the end of the Bastards of Bastion mini campaign. I gotta say,
Wow.
I'm not gonna say anything first. I'm gonna go to each of you, and I'm actually gonna go to Chad first because we don't know how long his battery's gonna hold out. So I do want to give Chad a chance to give your final remarks, your thoughts on the campaign, and anything you have to say about Harbinger or whatever. Go for it, Chad.
Oh man, thank you all. Thank you for putting this together and all of you making it what it was. The roller coaster ride that it was, and it all coming full circle. That was really cool. Like I've never been a part of a time traveling story, and that was really cool. I'm sorry I didn't give you the full opportunity to kill me, Jacob. Better luck next time. You got really close.
I'll get you in my Star Wars game, and we'll kill you there.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds like a plan. Wow. Thank you, Absolute Tabletop Group, because that's how I found about this game. Even though I do have the pleasure of following Mini Train Domain on Twitter, I got to get into this game. So if you haven't checked them out, please do. Awesome group of people. Harbinger version 0.5, awesome. I like the changes. Well, I guess I should say additions. There wasn't very many tweaks and changes that I saw. Additions are absolutely awesome. I think that they're now right in their infancy of being able to actually like run a campaign. It has enough different stuff going on, classes and races and backgrounds and everything, that now I'm at the point where I think I can run a campaign in this, so that's what I'm going to be doing soon. And then other than that, thank you guys again. I think I hope I hit everything. First time doing a Twitch game. Thank you. I'm sorry I brought some hiccups along the way, but thank you for pushing through that with me. And thank you all again. Thank you very much.
It's always a blast playing with you, Chad. Chad and I have obviously we met through Absolute Tabletop. We're also in some other groups like the Tabletop Crafters Guild, but we're all also both U.S. Army veterans, so we have that connection as well. So I've always enjoyed. I think this is the third or fourth time that Chad and I played together. I've run games for Chad, and this is the first time I didn't kill him. So yeah. So next up is, you know what? I'm going to go to Fenris because I'm going to assume this is Jenny, that has said her comment on the game is that Fenris is hot. I opened it up to any comments or questions from the audience. So thanks to Jenny and the kids for hanging out and watching, if the kids stuck it out. But let's go ahead and hear from Dwight.
Yeah, again, I've had a blast playing here. This is first time making it through a campaign with Jake where he didn't kill me. But no, this has been, like I said, it's been a lot of fun playing this character. It has, allowed me to get inside the head of a different person, but to the point where I've actually started, I haven't maybe mentioned this to Jake yet, I've started banding around some stories to write for Fenris, because I really
Awesome.
like where this this character is kind of developed as I've gotten a chance to play him. So, been a lot of fun. As much as I love D&D, I think this is more my jam, and this dark sci-fi. Just getting a chance to play this type of game has been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed. Harbinger is just a really cool way to get into this role playing tabletop experience for me. Being, I love the fantasy setting, but man, you give me some dark sci-fi, and I'm there all day. So it's been a real blast playing this. So.
Awesome. So I'm going to put Megan on the spot, and I'm going to request from Megan a game with this crew, the 5 of us, but you DMing at least a one-shot. I'll leave it up to you. You have not tasted dark science fantasy until you have played in a Megan game. And I don't say that lightly. I've had the benefit of playing in a few of them. Megan, that is your wheelhouse. Megan understands Harbinger and dark science fantasy like no one, and uses the technology stuff that's at her disposal to absolute just amazing. If you don't believe me, check out the Mission 99 on YouTube that I had the benefit of playing in with a couple other awesome role players. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to you, Megan, since I just kind of put you on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always down to run dark science fantasy, because I love that. I think it's so exciting. It gets so intense, and it brings out like the most emotion in people, which is always so cool. Yeah, no, this was so much fun. I didn't know that Cursed was gonna bail, but the more I thought about it, I was just thinking like she's a thief. She avoids confrontation, she avoids things, and I think that seeing her husband just kind of made her lose her nerve a little bit, and she just wanted to get out. But oh man, this was so cool, so exciting. I always, my favorite thing is when DMs can tie together like something that happened like so many sessions ago, and then now with the Skrug tug, like that just blows my mind. So, oh, this is such a cool game, and some really cool players. I've played with Chad before, but this is my first time playing with Alexa and Dwight. So awesome! Thank you for having me.
And I'll touch more on that full circle timeline thing in a minute. Let's hear from Alexa. The first game campaign that we've played. Alexa and I met through Twitter, and I think that's how we met. I think you somehow started following me. I followed you back, and then it just kind of went from there. And I invited you to this game, or rather, you answered the call when I put out the request. And I've never regretted that. So, and Alexa puts in a little extra sacrifice because she is deep into Eastern Europe, and it is gotta be what? It's pushing. Let me see if I can do the math on this. Is it getting close to 8 a.m?
Well, not quite. It's 5:45.
Okay, I was a little off on the time there, but yeah. So Alexa's been joining us at like 2 or 3 in the morning every session for this. So what are your final thoughts on this, Alexa?
First of all, thank you so much for meeting me halfway and having me as a player in this campaign. It's definitely been a lot of firsts for me. First game on Twitch, first sci-fi campaign or setting, first time playing with I guess US players, because I mean, first time playing with completely unknown people to me up until this point, in this time zone. Everything has been new to me, and I've kind of tiptoed around the character and around the story, kind of trying to figure out what she's about and how she fits in this how she fits into everything and into the interactions. I do feel like maybe I haven't put my best foot forward considering everything, but I guess maybe we'll have another opportunity to play again. And I really liked playing in a sci-fi. This is what drew me the most when I first saw your post, and I was like, oh please, oh please, oh please, let me get in. So I honestly don't remember how we connected on Twitter. I don't remember why or how, but it's done now, and
I'm
I'm
glad it
glad.
happened.
Yes, yes. So thank you everybody for having me and for helping me along the way. So thanks.
So I won't go on for too long because I know Dwight needs to get out of here and everybody else is anxious to get out. But I will say this. I don't regret choosing any of you for this game. In regards to the way this session ended, this was the best possible scenario for me. I left you with the choices. You didn't know that it was a Ghostbuster scenario, that I was waiting for somebody to make the verbal decision of what you were going to do. You had 4 decisions before you, and it was so much fun because of all the work you guys did, creating the backstories you did, to bring those characters forward to psychologically mess with you and put those choices before you. And Kirst, Megan, when you uttered it, that's all I was waiting for. And that's the choice I wanted, because at the very conception of this game, I wanted it to be you in a Skrug tug that caused your own accident that shifted you into this. But it could only truly happen that way if you chose to escape the vessel. I wasn't going to force it. So I'm so glad, Megan, you made the choice to run, because I knew that would blow your guys' mind just to have that extra little thing that you're the reason that you all got into this predicament in the first place. It's a play test. You know, we're kind of feeling things out. So obviously 2 chrysalics wasn't enough to throw at you to be truly harmful. But you guys had some close calls early on at lower levels with some death saving throws and near deaths. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the story. As I said early on, I kind of planned the first 3 sessions. From there, I was winging it. Honestly, if I had to pick, I think this is probably my first session because it had the least amount of planning to it. And I just love riffing off of the players and the things you say and do. And when I get to kind of inhabit NPCs, it's kind of like I'm playing alongside you. And I just think this was my favorite session. But I love this campaign. And I'm glad you all came along on this journey with me. So we just kind of like, I don't know what the heck's going to happen. And I'm glad you all had a good time. Megan, no pressure on that. But at some time in the indeterminate future, I really want the 4 of us to experience a Megan Dice on Ice game. So we're going to go ahead. I will say this. Actually, I'll do it when I sign out. I'm going to go to each of you. Go ahead and tell us where we can find you. And Megan, please plug the hell out of Cryfoth when I get to you. In fact, let's start with you, Megan. Cryfoth, and anything else you want to say.
Yes, so big news. We are releasing the Ravaged Wasteland of Cryfoth, which is a setting supplement fitting D&D 5e. And it's basically just this demons have taken over, and it's just this hellscape, and your job as players are to survive. We have a bunch of new rules, new races, a bunch of exciting things. We're super proud of it. And art is done by Runehammer. He's amazing, just amazing. This is our first project, so it's just super exciting. And it'll be coming out on DriveThruRPG tomorrow. It'll be dropping, so excitement. Other than that, you can find me on Dice on Ice. I am one half of the YouTube channel. We'll be getting back into running games now that Cryfoth's been let out. And actually, I have a game with Jake on Thursday. So
Yeah,
check
it's
it
going to
out.
be an ICRPG game, a little bit of that kind of a good taste of the kind of games that Megan runs, using RPG as the base system. So I'm glad to see Megan running games again and to be a part of that. Chad, let's give you a chance here since you might drop at any moment.
I think I got a little bit of juice. So
All right,
I can speak
good.
A little bit here. So, you can find me. There's a Twitter handle there that you can see. I use that sometimes, I guess. Otherwise, I'm in the Absolute Tabletop group, which you should join because there's awesome games to be had there. And aside from that, I'm on the YouTube under just Chad Smith right now. Hopefully, I'll get a whole handle or whatever thing going on and be real cool and run some games on there soon. Hopefully, my own first thing starting up soon.
Excellent. Dwight.
Yeah. So Twitter handles down there. You can link to my website, bigbeardeder.com, if you so choose. That's actually probably where I will publish or post my Fenris stories as I write them. So if you're interested in the adventures of Fenris, maybe check back in a couple weeks or so. But yeah, it's been fun. I had a blast. So thank you all for bringing me along with this. So.
And finally, Alexa.
I play games on Twitch at Blue Alexa. I like to play story-heavy games. And you can also find me on Twitter, same at Blue Alexa. Thanks for watching us, and maybe we'll do this again.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love to play with the four of you again, whether in the Harbinger setting, whether it's, the old D6 First Edition West End Star Wars game that I'm going to be running soon, D&D, whatever it is. This has been a fantastic group. I do want to say that I forget what it was that I said I was going to address in a moment when it was my turn, but I know Chad mentioned in our private chat something about could they have stopped the Harbinger. Yes, had somebody specifically voiced that would have been your choice, and based on the timeline in which you activated the Astra overflow would have determined whether or not you detonated the beacon and destroyed Verloren anyway, but stopped Harbinger from coming, or who knows what else could have come from that. But there's there were at least 4 different decisions you guys could have made. We could have ended with you delving deeper into Harbinger and just deciding, hey, you're going to spend your time in Harbinger. Or, maybe who knows what could have happened. There's so many things that could have happened with that. You chose my favorite timeline because that's how this game was inspired when I first thought of the idea of playing with time. The origin of the Skrugs was ultimately... The origin of Harbinger and Skrugs was what I wanted to play around with. But through the lens of 4 people that, instead of choosing to go on an adventure, they're forced into an adventure because they were all prisoners. Maybe it's because I was watching a lot of Orange is the New Black. I don't know. But you guys are awesome. I love playing with you guys. Obviously... Meg and I have played a lot together. Chad and I a few times. Alexa, this is the first time we've played together. But Dwight and I play in our home games for going on 3.5, 4 years now. So I obviously will never have a problem playing with you guys. This ends the Bastards of Bastion mini campaign on Sunday nights. I don't know when the next campaign is going to start up. I tentatively have also an Absolute Tabletop project mecha hack mini campaign called Lodestar Alpha is the setting, and the mini campaign is called The Sword of Damocles, and I already have players chosen for that, so that may fall on a Sunday night. I'm also going to be doing some RP with Beamdog's Planescape Torment, a D&D role-playing game from about 20 years ago, where I'm going to do I might do that just as filler on Sunday nights. But you can also check out tomorrow, the return of Cult of Personality, our Tomb of Annihilation D&D 5th edition campaign, which also features Megan, but also Mike the Piper, Marquise, and Drake the RPG Construct. And then various one-shots and stuff. As Megan said, check me out on with Megan and some others. Actually, Drake... Is Drake playing in that game? No, Drake's not playing in that one. We've got a one-shot coming up, or a three-shot, I think, coming up with Tyler in the Tales from the Loop universe that Drake and I are playing in together. So lots of stuff happening on Mini Terrain Domain. Check out at Blue Alexa on Twitter. Check out at Big Bearded Nerd. Check out Dice on Ice RPG. Check out at Chad Allen Smith 3. And check out at MTD_Jake on Twitter to keep up with what we're doing. And don't be surprised if you see the 5 of us returning right here on Mini Terrain Domain or elsewhere on the internet. Thanks for going on this journey with us. I'm Jake from Mini Terrain Domain. Imagine, build, play. And for the last time in this campaign, omitted and
Omitted.